It all started with me asking the internet a very simple question. Where is the best meal you've had in San Diego? And the boy who ate San Diego was born. In this series, you'll come along with me and my friends to experience the best of San Diego food. I hope. Some of y'all got suspect taste. It's gonna be fun. Trust me. Come on, let's eat.
We have so many great noodle houses here in San Diego, and that's fine by me because too much is almost enough. So when I get a recommendation to try a place I've never had before, I'm all over it. Let's head out to UTC to try out Kin West Noodle.
Kin West Noodle is a very small place located in a very big mall in a Westfield shopping center in a part of La Jolla we call UTC, or short for University Town Center, because it's right near the University of California, San Diego's campus. In fact, most of Kin West Noodle's other locations in Southern California are in or around college campuses, which is really smart because not only does this food travel really well, it was also very inexpensive. College food does not have to be low quality, my friends. Now, I will say, this is one of those places where, kind of, if you know, you know. The menu is not super descriptive. It's pictures and not a whole lot of words. But one of the words I did recognize was spicy, which is one of my favorite words, particularly when it comes to Asian food. I ordered the spicy wonton soup, and I gotta tell you, the night that we went, it was cold, it was dark, it was raining. You could not have asked for better noodle or soup weather. And one of the things that also got my attention was that Kin West Noodle offers the option of additional ramen noodles in your wonton soup. Yes, and please. And I almost gotta say, I never thought I would imagine myself saying this, but the ramen noodles weren't even necessary because the soup was incredible. The wontons were tender and full of flavor with a perfect spicy kick to them. Absolutely delicious, and you know this will travel well, so that is gonna be a takeout go-to for me. And while the soup was more than enough food to make a complete meal for me, I saw something else on the menu that piqued my interest and I had to get it. It's called the spicy shredded potato with absolutely no other description to it. Now, I like all three of those words, so I had to try it. And what I got was a basket of thinly sliced shredded potatoes that had been blanched and tossed in this light starchy sauce with chopped fresh jalapenos, my favorite. Miss me with that pickled nonsense, fresh only for me. I have never had a potato dish that was so light. I mean, the julienne potatoes were like fluffy, and it just played so well with the spicy kick of the jalapenos. And the portion was huge, so I had to take half of it home. And y'all, the following day, after those flavors had had time to marinate and I reheated it, it was even better. So good. Now again, this is not a traditional sit-down restaurant. There's not a lot of seating indoors, and there's barely any outside. And as I said, on the night we went, it was raining, so we couldn't do that anyway. We were very lucky to get a party as big as we were inside and eating. But there were takeout orders flying off the counter left and right the entire time we were there. Which is good, because you won't want to spend a lot of time there anyway, because the restaurant is unable to validate your parking for the mall. So if you get out of there in under 2 hours, you're solid. But it is absolutely fantastic. Several of my friends that came with us have already been back since we filmed this episode. Big thumbs up. Kin West Noodle is it, y'all.
So that was my experience at Kin West Noodle, but now it's time to take it to the panel and see what they thought. We're getting together to make nachos and talk about our evening.
Okay, so it's located in the Westfield Shopping Center, which UTC Mall. Now, when I first moved here and began working in La Jolla, which is very close to there, UTC was just this very humble little outdoor mall that you could easily navigate. Now, it has turned into like the Avengers headquarters. It's almost impossible to find, but I think it was Chris that was just set up the bat signal. Everybody was just park near Macy's. That's basically the best way to find it. But once you do find it, the night that we went, it was a very rare one in San Diego because it was cold and it was raining, and it almost never rains here, but it did make for perfect noodle weather. And when we got there, because correct me if I'm wrong, none of us had been there, right?
No.
Yeah, it was first time for all of us. Okay. Well, what we didn't realize is that it's basically a walk-up. It's not a traditional sit-down restaurant. It's much more like a noodle bar, the type you would find in like a Chinatown or a Japantown and other places like that. So, which is fine. There were just a lot of us, and it was raining, so we couldn't sit outside.
You walk in, you order from a pair of tablets that are up against the wall without talking to anybody. God forbid you have a question about the food that you don't recognize, which was great.
We're going to talk about the menu too, because the menu was a bit vague. David, you had particular difficulty with the menu.
Yeah, I try to eat gluten-free. I don't have celiac, but I try to be careful about the amount of gluten because it upsets my belly. And the menu was really vague. I mean, I ordered Mongolian beef because I felt like I knew what it was, but I wanted to be more adventurous. But I had no idea what the ingredients would be, if things would be breaded, what we were going to be getting. So yeah, I found that the menu could have used a little more detail. It felt like they were assuming that people knew what some of these things were, and I just felt like they could have, a little more description would have been helpful.
Well, and one of the things that I ordered, I'd never heard of, and there was no description other than the name, but I liked all those words that was on there, so I just went with it. But one of the dishes that also made its way to several people in this visit, as David said, was the Mongolian beef. And I would love to hear you guys talk about that. What was your experience with it?
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. The beef was juicy and well seasoned, and the onions were cooked perfectly.
It was pretty tasty. I had to buy yours.
It was really good, and it came with rice, and yeah, it was very basic, just meat and onions, but really, really delicious.
Shannon?
I thought that they looked like they could be spicy, so I was kind of timid and
like the dish
careful.
itself, or just the onions in particular?
No, the sauce that was on the meat, I thought, but it wasn't. It was just really flavorful. The meat was really tender, and it was smaller pieces. Like sometimes, in this city we get carne asada, fries or whatever, and it's like bigger chunks of meat, and it could be a little chewy, a little dry. This was like really tender, really good, a good amount of sauce on it. It wasn't super spicy, but it was flavorful. And it was by far the best thing that we had there, because we didn't order any of the soups, which I regret.
And the portion sizes were
Huge.
good across the board.
And the best Mongolian beef I think I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lofty claim. Now, Joseph, tell us a little bit about the soup that you got. I don't even know how to say it.
Sure. So it's Guilan Soup.
Okay.
And Guilan's a city in China.
Okay.
But this was everything I needed it to be. Like you talked about how it was just perfect soup weather, and I had already had a bit of a rough day on top of that, and so and on top of it, I'm a soup person, and so
you are very soupy.
I love soup. But so it was just everything that I needed at the right time. The broth was light, but one of the most flavorful light broths I've ever had. Like there was beef in there. The noodles were really fantastic. There were like a vinegared long bean, which was it was so wonderfully acidic. And so one of my favorite bites was just a little bit of cilantro, the sour bean, and the broth. And it was just this wonderful balance of acidic and savory, and just really sold. Yeah, no, absolutely. It had herbaceous notes to it. It was so comforting. And I loved everything about it, and I hope to have it many more times.
I'm right there with you. I'm going back for that soup.
Well,
That is the thing that's taken me back.
Something that you also gave high marks to, you and Amy. You guys both had the spicy mo.
I didn't exactly know what I was getting into.
Right.
All I saw was seasoned beef and bread. I kind of went, okay, let's give it a shot, because I have no idea what this is. and it's a grilled bread, but not a yeast bread. Like I'm assuming it's like a baking soda base.
It was interesting because it was crispy on the outside. It had like a sheen, and it was like almost chewy on the. There was a lot going on there.
It was so awesome texturally. Like it was just the right amount of crunch and chew to the bread.
Yeah.
I imagine it has to be a fast make because I looked into it later and it's a pretty common street food.
Okay.
And so like you need to turn over that bread pretty quick. A lot of the things that I found described it as the Chinese hamburger, and that is an absolute disservice to what this is.
Yeah, no.
Like,
if anything, it was more like a pulled pork sandwich.
It's so much better than what a hamburger.
Okay, well, yeah.
Or I guess the closest thing that I could probably equate it to is like a torta.
Oh yeah.
That's what it
just
reminded me of.
on a slightly different bread, and like the beef was super heavy on the star anise, which like was. A big sell for me.
All right. Well, Harry and Shannon, speaking of more Chinese American staples, they shared the chicken chow mein, and they offer Spam fried rice. Now, I know Spam is widely used in a lot of Asian cooking. Guys, tell us about those dishes.
I was surprised that the fried rice wasn't more salty because Spam was in there, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a big salt ball. But it wasn't. The rice was cooked as you would expect. And the vegetables were good in it. I mean, as you expect, it was like peas and carrots. But the Spam was a good, like the rice wasn't too flavorful and the Spam really shined over it, and together they were a really nice flavor.
When I had a bite of that was actually the first time I'd ever eaten Spam.
Oh.
Ever in my life.
Well, that's great though.
Yeah,
Yeah, true story.
I like Spam. What'd you think?
It tasted like ham.
It does.
yeah, it's a pork product.
It was good. It was good.
I mean, they did the Spam right,
which was they sliced it and then fried it before they added it to whatever they were to the rice. It was fine. It was a good fried rice in that aspect of it. And as far as the chicken chow mein, there was like great proportions between all the ingredients of the chicken chow mein. Everything was just like, yep, this every forkful had everything you wanted it to have in it for chicken chow mein. But all that being said, I walked away from there thinking I should have got one of the soups.
Okay.
Like I enjoyed, the Mongolian beef was the best for us. But with everything else, I think maybe it was the weather, maybe it was the disconnect between what the restaurant is and where it was situated. I just was left feeling like I kind of wish I had gotten a soup instead.
You left with a deep sense of soup regret.
We have to go back and have a redo so we can try that.
The soup folk definitely came away the winners, I think. That Guilan Soup broth with those wontons.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty
on.
amazing.
Those were maybe the best wontons in a soup that I've ever had. Yeah. Also,
I loved mine. They got so much flavor into it. I was so impressed. Now, I do want to talk to the gluten-free contingent at the table because I know there weren't a ton of options. And David, you were talking about maybe getting fried rice. What swayed you from the fried rice to the Mongolian beef?
It just didn't feel like it would be enough for dinner. And the Mongolian beef felt like it would be more hearty, and it came with rice, which I didn't know when I ordered it, but I kind of assumed. And then
Did you try the fried rice?
No, it came with white rice, and so that's all I had. I didn't get to try anything else.
And Shannon, did you feel like you had limited options, or?
I am mostly gluten-free because of tummy issues. And that night, for some reason, I forgot to bring my pills with me that help keep the symptoms of bad tummy stuff at bay. And I was not actually sick that night.
Okay.
And I had dumplings, I had the Mongolian beef, I had the chicken chow mein, and A
message to our gluten-free listeners. You should absolutely still take your pill or not eat the gluten-y things. Your mileage may vary.
Yes. Well, I think that, for example, I think the noodles that I had, I think were more rice noodles.
Yeah, and that was the thing about the chow mein was instead of those real big noodles, they had the really skinny little noodles, which I am a big fan of anyways, like more ramen noodles.
There are definitely things on the menu that had that used rice noodles. and things that use glass noodles.
See, I was nowhere near that bold. I was like, I could probably do dumplings. I could
we're not
probably
playing
get
with
away
fire
with some
tonight,
noodles.
folks.
But I was like, oh, that looks very breaded. I don't think I'm going to do that.
So I would say, aside from some minor drawbacks as far as like, you know, the kind of hard to find, possibly paying for parking, it's not a traditional sit-down restaurant, so there may be limited seating. The menu is not real clear. Other than that, I thought this was a very successful trip. I absolutely loved everything I had. I would go back in a second and I would do carry out and delivery from both of these places because this food travels exceptionally well. And like I said before, my shredded spicy potato was better the day after. So how are we feeling? Would you go back?
Oh, sure. I mean, a little far away to go for Chinese food when there are other options a little bit closer. But definitely enjoyed the meal, and if it was convenient, for sure, we go in and grab some food there again.
I feel the same way if I happen to find myself right there, which Harry and I are married and his office is not far from there. We could definitely do that again.
Okay.
I will travel far and wide.
Stand for life over here.
I am more than happy that this is hard to find because that means less people in line that I need to wait behind. And I would absolutely take that spicy beef mo in a drunken stupor over a flat top burger I cannot modify.
Yes, I love that you said that in your notes. So and I like that because
friendlies.
Yes, for the friendly, yes. Prior episode, you should go back and listen to all of them. But you know, as I said before, particularly here in San Diego, we have such an amazing, just such great Asian food all over the place. So this is pretty high praise that it really stood out that much for you.
Very much so. No, I loved every part of it.
All right.
And there you have it. If you know of a great place in San Diego that you think I should try, drop me a line at theboywhoatesandiego@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on one of my socials, which will be linked to this video. See you next time.